channel after news channel after news channel. Ever wonder why they report the same news? This is Wake Up America.
Brought to you by Citizen Stringer.
The media has become absolute lunacy. What makes us different? We just tell the truth. Daily headlines, politics, social issues, focusing on headlines that the mainstream media ignores. Conservative to the core and honest, sometimes to a fault. Unapologetically American. Welcome to Wake Up America with your host, Stephen Oatley.
Well, welcome to the show. Did you know it's Friday? I just figured that out. No, I've actually known all day. Today was a nice leisurely day of me saying, why don't DeWalt jigsaws, when you buy them brand new, come with blades? Like the jigsaw saw, but they don't come with blades. And that's really annoying because I couldn't do my floor today, which was the plan. But yeah, I could have made do with something else. That's my excuse for not doing it. Anyway, welcome to the show. Today is, what is it? June 10th. Man, in 1 week from today, I turn the wise age of 38 years young. That's the truth. And it's going to be interesting this next week, starting tomorrow when I do the floor. Anyway, this show is called Wake Up America. My name is Steve, and I am not on my game so far, but we will. We're going to talk about some of the news stories of the day. Who knows how long this show will go? Probably not the full hour, but yeah, whatever. We're going to talk a little bit about that sham hearing last night, the J6 hearing. Did you hear? 19 million people tuned in to watch that. Oh, who cares? But we'll talk about that for a little bit. We'll talk about some of the other stuff. There's a new white supremacist alarm bell that's going off now by the AP. We'll talk about Joe Biden's take on inflation and why he is just seemingly a moron more and more every single day. We'll talk about some crime that's taking place in Chicago. We'll also talk about the new 911 tapes that have been released in the Kavanaugh assassination attempt. All that and more on this episode of Wake Up America. But before we really jump into the news, because you guys are all chomping at the bits, you're like, Steve, give me the news. You're fiending. I want to tell you real quick about Spartan Armor Systems. Spartan Armor Systems is the keynote sponsor of this program. They are a Tucson, Arizona-based body armor manufacturer. If you haven't been paying attention, body armor is kind of a necessity for everyday life here in America now. If you want to live, which is incredibly sad. But, in order to go grocery shopping, go to school, go for a walk in a park, mow your lawn, sit, watch TV in your own home, go to a movie theater, go get gas if you can find it because, gas prices are through the roof and everyone's hoarding. You should have body armor because, people are crazy and they're only going to get crazier, especially when Democrats try to take guns from law-abiding citizens, and therefore the only people that actually have guns are the criminals. So go buy body armor. Check out SpartanArmorSystems.com. Use code YEET. That is YEET, and you get 5% off your order. In addition to body armor, they also have hats, shirts, patches, medical pouches, tactical plate carriers, a bunch of other stuff. Go check out their website. It helps us by helping you with that coupon, the YEET. All right, so let's just jump right into it. Obviously, as I mentioned, 19 million people tuned in last night to watch the House Select Committee's investigation in the January 6th riots on Thursday night, according to reports from Nielsen. That number will grow in the coming hours, according to the New York Times, as more networks are expected to be tallied and out-of-home viewing is factored in. But right now, they're saying about 19 million people tuned in, which is like how many people watch the Macy's Day Parade, which sucks. We used to watch that all the time as kids. Now we don't. Why? Because it sucks. Or a Sunday night football game, and that's a typical Sunday night football game. Nobody watches football anymore because they went all woke with 2 national anthems. So in terms of their viewer count, it sucks. Like even a presidential debate where half of the time nobody showed up, they still average around 30 million views on the low average for a presidential debate, just to put it into perspective. And that's aired on all networks too. So 19 million is pretty sad. Actually, I was wrong. Presidential debates average 63 to 73 million. Even Biden's blundering for an hour and a half on this year's State of the Union drew twice as many viewers as this January 6th committee hearing. So I don't think that it had the impact that they were actually hoping for. They were hoping that it was going to rile everybody up. You could see Democrat, pollsters and politicians and campaign people all over Twitter that are like, oh, this is a final nail in the MAGA coffin. This is going to end this, and no one is going to want to associate with any Republicans. Bravo, and applauding for these morons last night. And here's the thing, like, you can watch that, and here's no, because I don't how when we cover trials on this network, we try to put ourselves in a neutral perspective. I don't know if you watched what happened yesterday during the January 6th committee meeting, from 8 to 10 o'clock. I don't know if you watched that last night and you were completely neutral, like you didn't know what happened on January 6th, whether you would actually feel like you were hearing the truth. Because just like a lot of people said, it was one-sided. There was no arguments. There was no rebuttals. It wasn't a typical committee meeting where you have that back and forth because, it's not a partisan issue. You have Democrats, including Adam Kinzinger and Liz Cheney, that are presenting one side of things. And again, the easy, I said this thing to someone today that was in my house. I said, you have to ask yourself, what did Donald Trump benefit? And I said this several times last night. How would he have benefited from a mob violently entering the Capitol? And when you don't, and the people that are saying, well, this is what he wanted, are the people that don't understand our current system, our current, certifying votes and what the electorate and what that actually means and the process that's involved. Because the whole reason why we were there that day was to certify the votes, to impede on that certification or to object to those votes, to impede on that process does not benefit Donald Trump. It benefits the people on the left 100%. That riot benefited people on the left. It gave Democrats finally something to talk about. You know damn well that all these big news outlets were having conversations about what they're going to do. They're going to have to lay off staff. They're going to have to do this because Donald Trump is not going to be in office. They're going to have nothing to talk about. So then that's why we keep hearing. I mean, this is 18 months after. Here's a question for you. And this is a question for everybody to try to answer, because we could pick one single night of riots of 2020. And I know a lot of people are like, that's not what this is about. This isn't about riots in 2020. Well, the hell it's not, because you have to look at the same standard. You're expecting everyone else to call out the violence that happened on January 6th while single-handedly ignoring the violence that happened prior to January 6th, all throughout the United States for months and months and months. How is what happened on January 6th any different than the attacks on the federal courthouse in Portland? How is it any different than the attacks on an occupied federal building in Denver, Colorado, when they were firebombing and using improvised explosive devices outside the ICE building? How is it any different? Or let's just go Minneapolis. Most of you guys may or may not know that police departments, even local police departments, are fed in part by grants. That's why a lot of the people that firebomb these vehicles, these police vehicles, were charged federally, because those vehicles were provided via federal grants and federal loans. So you can argue and say, well, this was an attack on our democracy. What do you think an attack on a Portland area federal courthouse is, or the immigration and customs? How are those not the same? How are they any different? And people can't come up with the answer. They'll be like, oh, well, this was because it was over the election. Okay, people still have questions. I still have questions about the election. Social media has made it so you can't safely say what your questions are, but whatever. So apparently 19 million people tuned in, which to me, I was surprised that even that many people tuned in. But, and I'll be honest, I believe that the majority of those people are Trump supporters. They're people that watch just to be like, wow, this is bullshit. Or maybe it was people like me. One of the real reasons, I'll be honest, one of the real reasons why I wanted to watch it was to connect some of those dots that in our own investigation here at Citizen Stringer, trying to figure out what happened on January 6th. There's just too many things that just don't make sense. Like why wasn't there adequate training for the police officers? Why wasn't there a shitload of cops all over the place? That whole thing doesn't make a lot of sense to me, especially when they knew, and we know now, that there was going to be violence. Thank you, Larry, for that cash app. When we knew there was going to be violence there, but they didn't do anything about it. You know what I mean? And so that's what I was kind of hoping, that we were going to get some answers, even a little bit. And then as soon as they started talking, as soon as they tried to equate this to, the KKK and white supremacy and all that stuff, which again, those are just talking points. They literally, this is not about what actually happened on January 6th. And I think anyone who actually stood by last night and watched that, that. It's not about what happened on January 6th. This is about controlling what happens in 2022. This is about controlling what happens in 2024. And that's it. It has nothing to do with anything else. And because in all reality, Donald Trump's not the president anymore. Our country is falling apart left and right. We are divisive, all against, and it's not just like, I'm not blaming everything on Democrats too. Republicans are as divisive as hell and say, no, we can't work with them, or we can't do this, we can't do that. It's the same rhetoric. It's just, one person believes that they're right over the other, which is weird because that's what the other party thinks too. This whole thing is about skewing the election, trying to influence people to vote, especially when you see the new poll numbers for Joe Biden that came out. What's he got? 22% of the Hispanic vote now, less than 30% of the black vote, less than 30% of Democrats, actually think he's doing a good job. He's in dire straits. I don't think that he's going to run again. But maybe this is just all leading up, that because Donald Trump hasn't, and I don't blame Donald Trump for not saying that he's not going to run, because, well, he's not going to raise money if he doesn't say that. You know what I mean? So it behooves him. I like that word. That's why I've said it a lot lately. To keep hinting that he's going to run for office again. I personally don't think Donald Trump will run for office again. I think we're going to see DeSantis or somebody else. I think Donald Trump forever changed the landscape of this traditional, career politician holding that office. And at least that maybe that's me wishful thinking there, because I hope that he has changed it. I hope now that people are more apt to vote for someone based on how well they think they're going to do in the job. I don't know. So to make a long story short, yesterday was just bullshit. We didn't learn anything new at all. We just saw they doctored photos. Like one CNN reporter, a national correspondent, I tweeted at him and I'm like, why don't you just watch a whole video? Because he posted and he's like, not one person in this video helped. I forgot what it was and I can't find it now. But he's like, not one person helped. Oh wow. Hold on. Fuck, I can't. Yeah, let me turn that off. Undo retweet. Fuck you. I don't know where it is. I think I commented on it. So I don't know how to tell. It's funny. I use social media almost for a living. Oh, right here. Mike Valero with CNN. He tweeted out the video of Capitol Police Officer Caroline Edwards getting pummeled by these patriots, right? And he says no one approached the Capitol in this video did anything to help U.S. Capitol Police Officer Caroline Edwards. And then he wrote again, no one. But anyone who's actually seen this video, and I'll just show it just for a second so you can see. Anyone who's seen this video, damn well, yes, that video, before they cut and edit that video on CNN, that video does in fact show people going and rendering aid immediately. That, in fact, the people that first went to her, the people that first picked her up, and the people that handed her off to other officers were the very same people that were pushing on that barricade. CNN is not going to report that. They didn't play that clip yesterday in the hearings. They're not going to, because, again, they have an agenda they want to push. They don't want the public to actually find out what happened on January 6th. And just a disclaimer, what happened on January 6th was one of the worst days in our country's history. It was a horrible thing. It set the Republican Party back. It set conservatism back. It set the patriotism back, and whether or not you agree with that, I don't care. But there was nothing patriotic about what happened that day when the violence was taking place. Everything else that was patriotic, it was a rally at the Ellipse. The violence at the Capitol started prior to Donald Trump even ending his speech. They just keep lying and saying whatever. Thank you for that $20 super chat on YouTube. But they, you know what I mean? They're not going to be honest with you. That would be like, wishing to win the lottery. Everyone wishes for the lottery, and maybe, just maybe, you have a 1 in 10 million chance of actually winning. That's like getting honest news from CNN. It's just not going to happen. And they don't, and unfortunately, I'm too small. I'm not a verified account. They won't verify me on Twitter. So like when I, comment back, so why didn't you watch the whole video? I bet you would delete the tweet if you did, because if you actually watch a whole video, you see them render aid. You see them pick them up. Like yesterday in the committee meeting, they showed the video several times of them pushing the barriers, and they clearly tried to keep Ray Epps out of frame. They literally, the video is a full frame. They kept moving the camera around, or not the camera, but the video around to keep Ray Epps out of frame. Why? Why aren't we to know who Ray Epps is? I'm guessing we will. I'm guessing we'll find it out. But make no mistake, if this was truly about January 6th, then it wouldn't be 2 meetings or 2 of 7 committee meetings about January 6th. The rest of it is all leading up, talking about the election, talking about Trump's lies and how his own, people, everyone that's worried that they're going to get in trouble, after, aren't backing Donald Trump. That's all it is. It's all to just frame a narrative. And right now they're sitting and they're looking at, traction and analytics from the live streams and all that stuff from yesterday to try to cater their Monday hearing to figure out how they're going to frame certain things. And, it's television production. That's why they hired a production crew from ABC to handle this. That's why they did it, but long story short, it's just stupid. It's stupid. But yeah, that's about all I'm talking about the January 6th committee meeting. But actually not really. So speaking about that, did you guys hear what happened with Commanders coach? He was fined $100,000 for his comments about the meeting last night. The Washington Commanders have decided to fine coach Jack Del Rio $100,000 after he shared his personal opinion on Twitter that included calling January 6th a dust-up. His comments were tame and are some of the same thoughts that millions of Americans had just last night. Del Rio's comments could also be considered political speech, so the question remains, will the Commanders also fine everyone from the janitor to the highest paid athlete for sharing their opinions when it comes to politics? Not everyone believes that January 6th was a coup or an insurrection. Even if you feel that the people that attacked cops, broke into buildings, or damaged property were wrong and should be held accountable, that does not seem to pacify those that maintain that it was a coup or an insurrection. Therefore, sharing beliefs or even asking questions that go against the official narrative in a respectful way are not allowed, and you should be punished, apparently. That's the position of the Washington Redskins. Well, they just selectively fine those who have differences of opinion, or will they apply that same logic to political issues on both sides? Commanders head coach Ron Rivera said in a statement that after reflecting on the situation and circumstances, I have decided to fine Coach Del Rio $100,000, which the team will then donate to the United States Capitol Police Memorial Fund. Adding, I feel strongly after our conversation this morning, he will have a greater understanding for the impact of his language and the values that our team stands for. What did Del Rio say? Because I know you guys are probably curious. Del Rio on Monday tweeted criticism of the media attention given to the January 6th attack on the Capitol compared to what he perceived as a lack of coverage of looting and vandalism that occurred during some of the protests against racial injustice in 2022. We can go through specifics, but I think they estimate, I think the number of the total, even if you're talking police overtime and all that stuff, it's dramatically less than the first 2 months of the riots of 2020, which accumulated $20 million, or I'm sorry, $2 billion, not 20 million, $2 billion worth of insurance claims for burned down businesses and vandalized businesses and stuff. During January 6th, including all the innocent people that were killed, there were 5 people that died that day. 2 other officers took their lives after that, which everyone is attributing to January 6th. That's fine, whatever. It could have just been a really hard job, or we have a mental health crisis in America, but whatever. Let's say 8 people died. There were 29 or 20 or 31 people that were killed in the BLM riots, including children. To say you can't compare them it's because they don't want you to compare them. And so a lot of people have those same questions, and they say, okay, why is what happened on January 6th more important than what happened? And think about all the people that marched out and all the Black Lives Matter supporters and all that. They must be pissed. They must be pissed, right? Because they marched out, they destroyed mostly their own communities, and nothing happened. And then a bunch of white people, as the media tries to frame it, riot at the Capitol, and it garnishes years worth of national attention. It's going to be in the history books, like they said. It's swinging elections or eliminating candidates from the Michigan governor's race because the FBI goes and arrests them for standing on the Capitol on January 6th. There's all different things, but if you think about it, the people that were actually like the protesters in 2020, all these BLM protesters, they must be really mad, because not only are they not getting the recognition for destroying our communities, which I'm guessing they wanted, that's why they did it. They also got swindled out of billions of dollars by the leaders of Black Lives Matter, who bought mansions instead of giving back to their own communities. So, really, and they're not getting committee, national televised primetime committee meetings on January or on the riots of 2020, trying to get to the bottom of it and finding out why they were rioting, right? Because that's what this is about. This is about finding out why everyone felt so emboldened to go and storm the Capitol over election claims. What about the reasons for people rioting during the 2022 riots? Do you know what I mean? It's just so stupid. Anyway, responding to a tweet, Del Rio wrote, would love to understand the whole story about why the summer of riots, looting, burning, and destruction of personal property is never discussed, but this is #common sense. Del Rio elaborated in his tweet at a news conference on Wednesday, saying, "I'm just expressing myself, and I think we all as Americans have the right to express ourselves, especially if you're being respectful. I am being respectful. I just asked a simple question. Let's get right down to it. What did I ask? A simple question. Why are we not looking into things if we're going to talk about it? Why are we not looking into those things?" he said. The coach stated that a discussion needs to be had, saying, "It's kind of hard for me to say I can realistically look at it. I see images on TV, people's livelihoods are being destroyed, businesses are being burned down. No problem," the 59-year-old coach continued. And then we have a dust up at the Capitol, nothing burned down, and we're going to make that a major deal. Like I said, every which way I can. When I'm here, it's about love and respect. He said he loves his guys, respects his guys, but also loves the fact that he's an American, and that means he's free to express himself and not afraid to do that. Well, he was free to express himself, but he's also has to pay the fine, apparently, by his employer, the Washington Commanders, who are a shitty fucking football team as it is. I'm surprised they say they're going to donate that money. I bet they're using it to pay for their payroll and stuff, because they have fans? Do they sell out? They're not a good team. Wednesday, Del Rio apologized for his remarks at a press conference, saying that referring to the insurrection as a dust-up was irresponsible and negligent. So to say that social media has been kind to him after his statements and even after his public apology is an understatement. There used to be in America where different views and even difference of opinions did not equate to an immediate punishment, or worse, being labeled as something horrible that you are not. Now the question remains, what political speech will equate to a monetary fine? Does the janitor tweeting about his love for Trump meet the bar set? What about those players who protest before, during, or after games? I mean, didn't half of the Redskins all Commanders take knees in 2020? If you're gonna fire, or if you're gonna fine a coach $100,000 for asking valid questions, then why aren't you going to fine everyone who took a knee? Can we go back and find everyone who took a knee during the national anthem? No, they won't do that, because then it would. And I'll be honest with you. I'll say this with 100% certainty. If Coach Jack Del Rio was an African American coach or a Spanish or minority coach, he wouldn't have been fined. It would have been perfectly acceptable. It wouldn't have raised anything. But because he's a white guy, that's why it's drawing the attention. And you all know that. As much as it sucks for me to even say that, you all know that's true. You all know that's true, just as well as I do. And it's sad. Anyway, we're going to be right back. 1 minute and 32 seconds.
I work for a federal agency. I've been doing this job for over 23 years. When I come home from work, what's rewarding to me is that I know that I'm out there serving and protecting the citizens of the United States. My job can be dangerous. There's conflict, aggression, and sometimes life-threatening situations. On June 12th, 2018, I was patrolling near a mountain range and I heard a noise in the gravel. I turned and I saw 2 muzzle flashes. It was clear it was an ambush. I was shot 6 times. Getting shot feels like 1,000 needles penetrating your body. I felt immense heat, and then later the pain kicked in, and I had to do everything I could to save my own life. I survived because I was wearing my body armor. If not, my wife would be a widow, and my daughter wouldn't have a father. Spartan armor saved my life.
Finding the right CBD product for you can be tough. Just CBD has you covered. We offer the highest quality, most consistent CBD gummies on the market, with soothing 100% organic CBD in every mouth-watering gummy. All of our products are lab certified and made in the United States using organically grown hemp. Each of our gummies gives you between 8 and 25 milligrams of soothing CBD. Enjoy all the benefits of CBD in our amazing line of gummies with Just CBD.
All right, we are back. Welcome to the second half of Wake Up America. I'm kind of reclining. It's Friday. I don't really feel like doing the show, but I'm here because where else are you going to get your news? How many of you guys saw this new headline from the AP today? White supremacists are riling up thousands on social media. It never stops. We heard white supremacists last night a lot in the Capitol hearing, right? They kept saying the Proud Boys are white supremacists, even though I'd like to point out that their national president of the Proud Boys is not white. He's Afro-Cuban. He was president of Latinos for Trump. Like, come on. But it doesn't matter. I mean, those are facts that they don't care. They're not going to tell you the truth. Anyway, the AP is lying again to everybody. You know, we wrote an article earlier in the week about the FBI bulletin that is warning of domestic violent extremism because of Roe versus Wade, LGBTQ rights, and blah, 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 in the fact that they are losing those battles, those people on the left, right? So Roe versus Wade is seemingly, it's set in stone, apparently. Either, I think it's Tuesday and Thursday, they're going to have 30 plus opinions come out of the Supreme Court. And Roe versus Wade is expected to be one of those. A draft opinion was leaked, I think, back in April, where they said they're going to overturn it. They're going to overturn Roe versus Wade, which, contrary to what mainstream media says, it does not make abortion illegal. The only thing it does is it passes power back to make that decision back onto the states. Now, some states do have laws in place already, just in case it gets overturned, which will ban abortions in those states. That's why so many different employers have now, including Tesla, everyone was like, Elon Musk is our hero. But even Tesla has said that they will pay employees to drive to other states where abortions are legal, if they seek to kill the child that is growing inside them. And that was the same bulletin. So the AP, and I don't know if they wrote one on the actual security bulletin. That would be a good article or a good thing to look up, April, if you're watching. Because if they actually put one out about this, bulletin, and then put this out after to try to cover for it. It would be interesting to point that out. Anyway, the AP says social media posts are of a distinct type. They hint darkly that the CIA or the FBI are behind mass shootings. They traffic in racist, sexist, and homophobic tropes. They revel in the prospect of a white boy's summer. No, they don't. I don't see any of these posts all the time, ever. Anyway, white nationalists and supremacists on accounts often run by young men are building thriving macho communities across social media platforms like Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok, evading detection with coded hashtags and innuendo, according to the AP. Their snarky memes and trendy videos are riling up thousands of followers on divisive issues, including abortion, guns, immigration, LGBTQ rights. Oh, they forgot the plus. Fuck AP. They forgot the plus. It's supposed to be LGBTQ plus A, right? Isn't that what it is? They forgot that. Everyone should boycott the AP. They left out the pluses. Anyway, the Department of Homeland Security warned Tuesday that such a skewed framing of the subjects could drive extremists to violently attack public places in the U.S. in the coming months. Although that is not what the actual thing said. Actually, they did. April, I already found the original article. It was linked in here. So, anyway, these types of threats and racist ideology have become so commonplace on social media that it's nearly impossible for law enforcement to separate internet ramblings from dangerous, potentially violent people. Michael Germain, who infiltrated white supremacy groups as an FBI agent, told the Senate Judiciary Committee on Tuesday. And then he goes on to talk about stuff, saying it seems intuitive that effective social media monitoring might provide clues to help law enforcement prevent attacks. After all, the white supremacist attacker... He says, see, this is in, oh, I get it, now I see. After all, the white supremacist attackers in Buffalo, Pittsburgh, and El Paso all gained access to material online that express their hateful, violent intentions on social media. Blah, blah, blah. And then he goes on, and like, they talk about these hashtags and stuff, and let me see. A closer look reveals hundreds of posts steeped in sexist, anti-Semitic, and racist and homophobic content. In one Instagram post identified by the Associated Press, an account called White Primacy appeared to post a photo of a billboard that describes common ways Jewish people were exterminated during the Holocaust, saying we're just over 75 years since the gas chambers, so no, a billboard calling out bigotry against Jews isn't an overreaction. The caption of the post, however, denied gas chambers were used at all. The post comments were even worse, saying if that really happened, and then it just goes on. The account, which had more than 4,000 followers. So they're writing an article on, I could make an account where, and literally call it cat scratches butthole, and I would get probably 10,000 followers in 20 minutes. Okay? Like, 4,000 followers on social media is nothing. Half of them are bots anyway. Have you ever created an account? You're going to have thousands of followers right away. Or what I suspect, this is my allegation, and get ready, AP lawyers. This is what I suspect. One of their writers, whoever wrote this thing, Amanda Siez, right? This is what she did. She created an Amazon account, allegedly, with that same name, whatever group that name was, I forgot what it was. White Primacy, right? She created a group called White Primacy. She went over to like getfollowers.com, paid $5 to have 4,000 followers added, posted this so she could write a whole article on it. Don't say that doesn't happen, because it does. Larry Elliott with another Cash App. Thank you so much, dude. It doesn't matter. Like, this is just so stupid. Here's the real thing. The real threat. Everyone talks about these threats from white supremacists, right? Yes, we had one in recent months. We've had one in Buffalo, New York, where the guy that should have been on the red flag list, the guy that should have been in jail, frankly, for threatening to shoot up his high school just 9 months earlier. That guy was he was a white supremacist. I don't know if it was known. But again, he was chatting with retired FBI agents prior to this, and they didn't report him. So I'm really confused as to why is it always white supremacy? Why is that the fallback that everyone runs to? To me, it's just another one of those like things that we're never going to be able to figure out. It's always white supremacy all the time. It's what they always blame everything on. I'm fucking tired of it. I really am, because here's the truth. We now have domestic violent extremists burning down pregnancy centers throughout the United States. There's been 6 or 7 attacks on pregnancy centers. You know what a pregnancy center is? It's a place where you can go and get help for your neonatal care. That's what it is, right? They don't do abortions. They try to talk people out of abortions in those facilities. So those facilities are getting firebombed all across the United States, getting vandalized, having their windows smashed in, having, graffiti marked on the side. You know what's not getting attacked, and I'm certainly not calling for it to? Abortion clinics. They're not getting attacked. They're not getting firebombed. None of that stuff's happening. So the group that is being the aggressors, even though the FBI doesn't want to say it, clearly based on, so we have 1 case of white supremacy in the past 3 weeks, and we have 9 cases of firebombings of pregnancy centers. Which one is a bigger threat to society? Like, I just don't understand why common sense doesn't kick in. I've been waiting for it for well over a year now, for people to be like, oh, well, you know what? They're lying to you. like they're lying to me all the time. They just don't care. They just don't care. And then they put this whole thing about this stupid YouTube or TikToker said something that said he's the same freaking moron that does all this. Remember there was the videos last week of a guy driving around in Los Angeles, I believe it was, and he had a big U-Haul. They rented a U-Haul and put anti-Semitic shit all over it and then drove it around. They're doing it for the views. I wouldn't doubt those are the same people that did the LGBTQ plus Target thing where they're going to go after people, Target for supporting LGBTQ plus. Frankly, I don't give a shit about that. I don't care about any of this stuff. I really don't. I don't know why it bothers other people. Like, the more I think about it, the more I'm just like, why does it care? Why do you care if someone is LGBTQ plus? I don't, like, who fucking cares? Like, you know what I mean? We have bigger issues in this country that people want to. Like, I get it if it's a teacher or someone like that that's going out and passing that ideology or that frame of thinking or making it acceptable for youngins, that's an issue. Are people seriously attacking LGBTQ plus people in 2022 because they're LGBTQ plus? Or is it because they're teaching our kids that it's okay to do that, to live that lifestyle and get sex changes and shit when they're preteens? Because I think it's the latter. I don't think people are actually out there attacking LGBTQ plus people because they are that. Or you can't say gay anymore, right? It has to be LGBTQ plus. I don't know. I've just never understood it. I've never understood it. And I don't know what the big hubbub is about it either. Do I think it's wrong and all that stuff based on religion? Sure. But I also don't, like, if you love someone that's the same sex, then that's your prerogative. As long as you're not sucking face with another dude in front of me, it doesn't affect me. It literally doesn't. As long as you raise your kid to be a proud patriot, who gives a fuck if he has 2 dads or 2 moms? Fucking who cares? And it's some people, and I know a lot of my viewers are really like, they're like, no, it's wrong. God will strike them with lightning from above. Okay. but like, who cares? Does it affect you? Like, I don't know. I don't, maybe it's just me, I just don't understand it. I don't understand why that's even a talking point. You know what I mean? And maybe it's not. That's the whole thing. Maybe it's not anymore. Maybe, because I know there were, people that did attack people outside of gay bars and shit. I know that was a thing back in the 90s and early 2000s. Is it still a thing? Because you don't hear about that much. Maybe that's still a thing. And if that still is a thing, then I understand why people are out there talking about LGBTQ plus rights and all that stuff. But as far as I'm concerned, don't they have the same rights as everybody else? We have gay marriage and all that stuff. Or like, who fucking cares? Like, don't we have bigger things? You know what I mean? I don't know. But apparently this whole article by the AP is using all these hashtags and shit that I don't know. I was told there are a bunch of hashtags in here. I'm not seeing any of the hashtags, the crazy hashtags. But it's just fucking stupid. Charles said, it's not even a thing anymore. We don't care who you screw. Yeah, I just don't know. I don't get it. Someone said, you must lick their boot and use their icons. You know what I hate is when people that call themselves patriots say that lick the boot thing. Just get rid of that. It's been hijacked by the left. So whenever someone says that, even if they like a lot of anti-police people that follow me for some reason, which is weird because I'm extremely pro-police. A lot of anti-police people that follow me use that term. And I'm like, that's literally, they march down the streets in Portland attacking police officers for months. Talking about licking boots of police and a bootlicker and all that stuff. Remember? So any patriot or wannabe patriot who wants to refer to someone that's pro-police as a bootlicker, you're like maybe just a step above the scum of the earth. You know what I mean? But I hate that term. But yeah, I don't know. Now there's a lot of conversations going on social media about, I have a gay cousin. I got 2 gay brothers. I got this. Again, who cares? I mean, really, I don't care. You know, it's not, I don't understand. I don't understand what the hubbub is about. You know, I don't. Anyway, you guys want to hear some other news? Let's get off all this stupid shit. Let's talk about inflation because that hit a new high today. What was it? 8.6%, 8.7%. It's another 40-year high. Last time it was this high was in December of 1981. 3 years before I was born. Yeah, true story. All right. But keep in mind, Joe Biden was still a senator back then. And that's a true story, too. He's been in office for like 47 years. But anyway, President Biden claimed Friday that fighting inflation is his, quote, top economic policy. Bullshit. After data showed the annual price spikes hitting another 40-year high last month, then laid the devastating economic news at the feet of, you guessed it, Russian President Vladimir Putin, oil companies, shipping conglomerates, and, well, Congress, saying we've never seen anything like Putin's tax on food and gas, he lamented during remarks at the Port of Los Angeles. Moments later, the president focused his ire on energy companies, saying at one point Exxon made more money than God this year, and adding, Exxon, start investing and start paying your taxes. This dude. The 8.6 annual inflation rate in May was a blow to Democrats' political fortunes ahead of the November midterm elections, as polls show landslide disapproval of Biden's handling of the issue. In an earlier statement issued by the White House, Biden reverted to a favorite phrase saying Putin's price hike hit hard in May here and around the world. High gas prices at the pump, energy and food prices accounted for half of the monthly price increases, and gas pump prices are up by nearly $2 a gallon in many places since Russian troops began to threaten Ukraine. Now it's saying began to threaten Ukraine. Before it was when they invaded, right? Now they're trying to move it back a little bit more. Anyway, Biden also touted a slight decline from April in the so-called core inflation rate, which does not include fluctuations in prices of food and energy, the two sectors most affected by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. But even that metric increased by 6% year over year in May, just above economists' expectation of 5.9%. Biden also ignored that inflation was high before the Russian assault on Ukraine that began on February 24th. The annual rate of inflation for that month was 7.9% after hitting 7.1% in January and 7% in December. The solution, Biden said, was more government spending, despite critics, including Republicans, federal bankers, and Washington Post owner and Amazon founder Jeff Bezos saying excessive stimulus contributed to the problem. My administration will continue to do everything we can to lower prices for the American people. Congress must act urgently as well, Biden said. I call on Congress to pass a bill to cut shipping costs this month and get it to my desk so we can lower the price of goods. And I call on Congress to pass legislation to cut costs for families like energy bills and prescription drugs. I want people to understand Biden wants to, instead of like focusing on the actual issues, he wants to pass a bill to cut the shipping costs to purchase goods from outside of the United States. Like, how is that going to help us? Like, oh my gosh. The president asserted if Congress would pass tax reform to make the wealthiest Americans and big corporations pay their fair share, we could reduce this inflationary pressure even more. These are the most significant things Congress can do to help families now and complement the Federal Reserve's effort to bring inflation down. In his afternoon remarks, Biden also singled out international shipping firms for blame, saying that just 9 shipping companies control about 90% of U.S. imports from Asia and that they raised their prices by as much as 1,000%. The Senate passed legislation, I'm hopeful, which they have to raise their prices. Fuel costs have gone through the roof. Now look how long it takes them to get offloaded at ports. Remember that whole thing? They're not making any money while the ship is sitting there. It's the same as a tractor trailer. If that tractor trailer is sitting on a dock waiting to be loaded, they're not getting paid anything to sit there and wait. It's the same thing with all the shipping costs. What do you think is going to happen when you shut down all the ports with this pandemic bullshit? What do you think is going to happen, guys? Like, come on. Everyone foresaw that this was going to happen. And then they're doing the same thing. Oh, they want to blame Putin for the rising price of fuel. Before Putin invaded, in February 24th, before that was done, then they were blaming the big refineries and the big oil companies, saying they're responsible. This is like when they say, just 9 shipping companies control about 90% of the U.S. imports. How many times have we heard him say that? They did it with the baby formula. Just 4 companies control 70%. They did it with COVID vaccines. Just blah blah blah. It's a main talking point to try to. What? To take it over and have the government run it? Look how they're running this country. Can you imagine if they oh God, whatever. I'm just going to stop. A Quinnipiac University poll released Wednesday found that 64% of U.S. adults disapprove of Biden's handling of the economy, with 34% saying inflation is the most pressing national issue. The president's overall rating was just 35% in the poll. Critics often blame inflation on Biden's policies, including his $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan Act that bailed out state and local governments, gave $1,400 stimulus checks to most Americans, extended $300 weekly unemployment supplement, and expanded the annual child tax credit to $300 to $3,600, up from $2,000 per child. Biden, on at least one occasion, acknowledged the possible impact of these generous social spendings on inflation, saying the irony is people got more money now because of the first major piece of legislation I passed. You all got checks for $1,400. You all got checks for a whole range of things, he said in November. It changes people's lives. But you're damn right it did. It did. That $1,400 changed people's lives. It went in one, now we're paying it in fuel. We're paying it in the rising cost of bread. What is bread now? 17% higher than what it was a year ago? Meat is like 32% higher. Milk is like 30% higher. Come on, what else is going to raise up? I know the cost of shipping now. For me to ship an 8-pound bag of coffee used to be $6. Now guess what it is? Or a 1-pound bag of coffee used to be $6. Now it's $8.30 or something like that. Just to ship one bag of coffee. And that's over, a 4-week period. And it's only going to go up. My cost to actually buy the coffee is even more expensive now. That's, through the roastery, because the shipping costs from FedEx went up. And the shipping costs that they pay for all the beans went up. Everything goes up. The shirts. I used to buy shirts for like $1, because I buy in bulk, hundreds and hundreds of shirts at a time. You end up getting them for like $1.80, or you used to, for a regular like white blank t-shirt. Now the regular blanks are like $3.50 per shirt, which means that I either have to charge more for the shirts that I sell, or I have to not buy them. You know what I mean? Just crazy. It's crazy. Biden claimed that every country in the world is getting a big bite and piece of this inflation, worse than we are, and in the vast majority of countries around the world, he claimed. However, the average Eurozone inflation rate in May was 8.1%, 0.5% lower than the U.S., despite Russian fuel and food disruptions hitting that region far harder than in the Western Hemisphere. A study released in March by researchers at Federal Reserve Bank in San Francisco said that the final quarter of 2021, about 3 percentage points of U.S. inflation, or nearly half of it at the time, may have been caused by government pandemic overspending, which is what everyone warned about. But nobody listens. Nobody listens to any of that shit. I say that a lot. Nobody listens. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. I'll be right back. Do you know we sell coffee? What's up, guys? Do you like coffee, but you're tired of the shitty Folgers coffee that you buy at your grocery chain? Or are you tired of the wokeness of all these patriot coffee companies online? Well, check out Pure Truth Coffee Company. You can visit puretruthcoffee.com and order 6 blends. That's what we carry because we don't want to overdo your taste buds. So we have 6 blends of the best coffee. We have Harlem's Finest, where 100% of the proceeds go towards New York City police charities. We've got Awake Not Woke. You know why? Well, because fuck the woke. We've got, what do we got? French Vanilla. It's nice. Smells really great. We got the Wake Up America Breakfast Blend. We've got the Pardon My French Roast. And then we have, if you're a real caffeine addict, we have our signature Flying High octane coffee. Don't drink if you have heart issues because it'll kick your ass. Check it out, puretruthcoffee.com, puretruthcoffee.com, puretruthcoffee.com. Well, you may not have known. Anyway, welcome back. My name is Steve. The show is called Wake Up America. Nice to have you here. I got to start doing that too. So like if people tune in, after the coffee break or commercial break or something, then they know what they're watching, right? Anyway, crime is going rampant through the United States. And in Des Plaines, Iowa, an upscale car dealership in the Chicago area was broken into in the middle of the night earlier this week, and thieves got away with several vehicles valued at almost $400,000. Now, the owner of this business, Sam Jid Luxury Motors, said this was the 5th time in a little over a year that thieves have targeted his business, and he will likely say fuck this and move out of state. Around 3 a.m. Tuesday, thieves shattered the glass of the front door of the dealership, which set off alarms and sent an alert to Jid's phone. He watched live as the suspects ran through his business and made their way to a back corner where they pried open the lockbox that housed 130 key fobs. The dealership surveillance video shows the suspect testing the fobs in order to find the vehicles they belonged to, while their accomplices did the same outside. In total, they made off with 3 automobiles valued at nearly $400,000. The heist took all of a few minutes to pull off. Another surveillance video shows police arriving in time to see the thieves drive away. They gave chase but stopped when it became too dangerous due to the high rate of speed. This new law in Illinois, which is ridiculous, Jid told CBS News. It's crazy. He said security would have been added to every lot to protect his inventory, which is valued at millions of dollars. And he plans on moving his business to another state, such as Florida, within the next year or so. 100%. It's going to happen again, he said. They're so comfortable because they know they're not going to get arrested. They're driving a free car. It's bad. It's really bad, he said. The owner is worried the thieves will come back and steal more vehicles with the fobs they now have in their possession, even if he reprograms the cars. The vehicles stolen were a 2021 Mercedes-Benz GLE 53 and 2 2021 Mercedes-Benz S550s, each worth about $120,000. So now I have no keys and I'm really, really worried, he said. He said the lack of determination by the city's officials, the local police, and the Cook County State's attorney is making the decision to flee Illinois that much easier. No suspects have been identified in that. And crime is not just new, there. I mean, that's just one crime story that's crazy. But crime happens everywhere. Just take my new little town in East Bumfuck, Virginia, right? We had a murder last night around 7:30 p.m. I don't know where because I don't know the streets here, but yeah, some 54-year-old man was shot and killed in his driveway, I believe, yesterday in rural-ass Virginia. That's why it's very important to go and buy yourself some body armor. I'm not joking. You're walking out to check your mail and you're wearing the skibbies, you should be wearing body armor because you never know who is going to kill you. Unfortunately, it seems like you have a very good likelihood of getting killed. Anyway, last news story of the day before we wrap up this shit show for the weekend. There are no words that could fix what happened in Uvalde, Texas, after a deranged gunman killed 19 students and 2 teachers at Robb Elementary. However, many have wanted to hear from the highly criticized Uvalde Unified School District Police Department Chief Pete Arredondo. He finally spoke to the Texas Tribune, where he attempted to tell his side of the story. Arredondo answered questions via a phone interview and in statements provided through his lawyer, a lawyer named George Hyde. Ariendo proclaimed that he never considered himself to be the incident commander, which is in stark contrast to what Texas DPS director, said during the Friday's press conference that week of the shooting, where he said that police chief was the incident commander. In fact, he just assumed that someone else had taken up that role despite being the chief. Ariendo did not delegate the incident command to someone else. He just assumed. Apparently, he said he never considered himself the scene's incident commander and did not give any instruction that police should not attempt to breach the building. DPS officials have described Ariendo as the incident commander and said he made the call to stand down and treat the incident as a barricaded suspect, which halted the attempts to enter the room and take down the shooter. Ariendo said, I didn't issue any orders. I called for assistance and asked for an extraction tool to open the door. That's a quote from him. The interview contained explicit language and multiple excuses, but was dramatically written to paint Ariendo as a hero. Those excuses ranged from he was not the incident commander to waiting for a key that worked to open the door. In the article... The article in the Tribune started by stating only a locked classroom door stood between Pete Ariendo and a chance to bring down the gunman. It was sturdily built with a steel jamb impossible to kick in. Ariendo revealed that he was in the hallway of the school as the gunman killed indiscriminately, April, check that paragraph, indiscriminately for over an hour. He wanted a key, one goddamn key, and he could get through the door and the kids and the teachers. The killer was armed with an AR-15. Ariendo thought he could shoot the gunman himself or at least draw fire while another officer shot back. Without body armor, he assumed he might die, the Tribune wrote. He called for tactical gear, a sniper, and keys to get inside. He claimed that he tried dozens of keys, but one by one, they all failed to work. Each time I tried a key, I was just praying, Ariendo said. It was revealed that Uvalde CSID officers don't carry master keys to the schools of which they visit and protect. Instead, they request them from an available staff member when they're needed, which doesn't make any fucking sense. Anyway, how long did it take to find a working key on the day that this crazed gunman was killing children? 77 minutes. Once the door was open, they were able to open the door and shoot the gunman. Ariendo, 50, insists he took steps that he thought would best protect the lives at his hometown school when he had attended himself as a boy. And then it goes on. I mean, April did a really good job on this article, breaking it down. I just am a little disgusted by it, so I'm not going to read anymore. You guys can go find that on citizenstringer.com because this guy is acting like he's a hero, or trying to at least portray that he's a hero, and he's not. He's a scumbag, and that's my firm opinion. Anyway, if you don't follow me on Twitter, you should. It's at Steve Oatley, You should follow me on Twitter because you may get some flooring pics, where I like strike a pose while I'm putting down new floor. I did post a photo on Twitter of our living room with the newly painted walls and a plywood floor because when you buy a jigsaw, they don't come with blades. So I couldn't actually start doing what I needed to do. But yeah, anyway, that's there. I'm also watching the series 24. It's been around for a long time, like 8 or 9 seasons. Never watched it. It is incredibly good. I have to say that. It is very, very good. And I'm going to keep watching it for a long time. I really, really like it. Some of it's far-fetched, but I think the show is very good. Very well, very put together. Anyway, follow me on Twitter because I'll be posting photos of my house all weekend long. Maybe a TikTok video or two this weekend. Otherwise, I'll see you guys unless there's breaking news or something. I will see you all on Monday. This show is going to replay at 9 o'clock on Citizen Stringer and Citizen Stringer Radio. Till then, bye-bye.